Welcome back to the Cutty and Govy Show. This is a impromptu podcast. Govy and I came over to our podcast studio, and we have Kelli Brink here, who is a social media genius. And we started talking to her, and she had so many great ideas for our podcast to blow it up. I do have my book coming out next month, so it's important that we keep this thing going. And we just started talking, and as we're talking, somebody canceled their podcast. And we said, can we do it? We want to interview Kelli. And it's really interesting because it starts out, Govy's married 3 times, Cutty's married 3 times, and Kelli's married 3 times. So we have 9 marriages here. I mean, we could support the divorce attorneys in town. Anyway, Kelli's a single, beautiful woman. She lives in Iowa and works for this giant podcast company that has numerous podcasts around the country. Where are all your spots, Kelli?
We've got 2 in Florida. We have 1 coming in Las Vegas. We've got Cleveland, Scottsdale, Arizona, Greenwich, Connecticut, and more on the way.
So you travel between all these spots?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we're sitting in a brand new studio here that you guys just built. Is this the first time you've traveled here to see this new studio?
This is my first time at this studio, yes, the last couple weeks. I've been in the Scottsdale studio and the Palm Beach Gardens
Boy, it's hot as balls in Scottsdale right
now. It is.
Isn't it? How hot?
Yeah.
102.
Yeah.
You can fry an egg on your car seat, they say, in the middle of the summer.
I'll be going there on Saturday, so
oh my God.
We'll see. But I like the heat, actually. I have,
you know, like this guy.
Yeah.
But being from Iowa and you have all these spots that you have to fly to.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in Florida, South Florida, and I had to go somewhere, I have, especially with the Bright Line now, I could fly out of Orlando, but I can go Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Orlando. And I can go anywhere pretty easily. From Iowa, your day is, let's say you had to go to, not Chicago, but let's say you had to go to Atlantic City, New Jersey. What's your travel? How many flights?
She needs 2 planes, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I live in a really small town in Iowa, so I'm, first of all, an hour away from my airport.
So do you know
So I have to
everybody
drive.
in your town? I mean, when you say small town, it's like...
I mean, yeah, a lot of the people. I've only lived in that town for about 6 years.
Right.
My ex and I owned a farm in that community.
Wow.
So
Iowa. How many
Yeah.
people own a farm in Iowa?
Right.
Yeah.
And what you grow?
Well, it was a hog farm, so we
Hogs.
owned it, but we rented it out to a high-end hog farmer who imported hogs from Italy, and they're like Wolfgang Puck was one of his investors. So
Holy
like
smokes.
we
How
always
many
had
girls
chefs.
have you ever
yeah.
met that had a hog farm?
No, I mean, that's interesting on a date to talk about that.
It is, yeah.
I don't know anything about hog
Yeah,
farming.
yeah. So we'd have a lot of chef tours and stuff because
Wow.
they made really good prosciutto
Great.
from these hogs. So that was interesting, but
Did
Yeah.
you ever actually eat from any of the hogs that were raised on your farm?
Yeah.
You actually...
What do you think they did?
Yep.
Went to the store and bought Oscar Mayer bacon? She ate her own.
yeah. Well, that's one thing I love about like rural Iowa and the farming area in Iowa because like we ate my next door neighbor's cow that was like pasture, like farm fresh, grass
But I have a
fed, all of that.
question. So you have all this exposure to come to South Florida, meet super interesting podcast superstars like us.
Yeah.
Or in Arizona or in Las Vegas. If you didn't have that outside exposure, do you think you would be content in Iowa? My point is, you're in Iowa, but you're really seeing, you're spending time in other spots.
Yeah. I'm not in Iowa that much. So yeah, I think maybe I would get a little complacent. I'm a really free spirit. I'm always traveling, going on trips, road trips, all of that.
By
So
that beautiful
artwork on my
artwork.
body.
That's super. I'm thinking of getting it.
Wait, does that have something to do with traveling?
No, I just think it means like you can tell I'm a free spirit, right? By all the tattoos and stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever see the tattoo on Mike Tyson's face? Do you know the boxer?
Oh, on his face?
Yeah, he has it right here.
Yeah.
So Jeff Ross, the roast master, they were doing a roast to somebody, and Mike Tyson was on the panel, and of course they start teasing the people first, and he turns to Mike Tyson and he said, "Mike, you fucked up a lot of people's faces in your career, but you fucked up your face the most.
He was on drugs and stuff.
Yeah, Mike Tyson. He's been
But
hit in the head a few times.
it's really interesting. Now, I have a question about that, if you
Yeah,
don't mind me diverting. Is that something that you do over time, or you go in and you get it done? Is that like a 5-year deal, or boom, you do it like?
These were all in one session, like one session. But over like 8 to 12 hours. So it took a long time. The big one, we weren't sure what it was going to be. I've broken my arm twice, and I've had surgery, and I have like bad scars on my arm. So it was just going to be a scar cover up, but he just kept going.
All right, enough with the tattoos. I want to go on. I want to talk about Iowa.
Well,
I want to talk about
when he was in the military as a giant eagle on his back.
I want to talk about the people, the guys that you meet in Iowa.
Oh, we're getting to the juicy stuff.
No,
dating,
and compared
sex.
to the rest of the country, like for instance, like you have a place in Cleveland. Cleveland is completely different than South Florida and Arizona. You know, there's you have much more of a farmer. Like if you said to people in Boca, "What do you do for a living?" If they said, "I'm a farmer," you don't really catch too many of them. You know, but in Iowa, it's probably pretty normal to be at a bar, and if you said, "What do you do?" and they say, "I'm a farmer."
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Yeah, I dated a dairy farmer for a while.
Right.
So.
I mean,
wow.
So, what are the bars like there? Are they all maybe country themed, or is it?
It depends on what part you're in. You know, we've got Des Moines, Iowa is a really up and coming, trendy city.
How far are you from Des Moines?
I'm 2 hours from Des Moines, but my oldest son lives there.
How
so
far are you from a movie theater?
I do have a movie theater in the town I live in, but it's one of those old school with the
one screen.
No, it's one screen. Yes.
Wow.
But it's like cool retro, really pretty old
You
theater.
have like like great TV, like Comcast here. You get all.
We get normal TV.
Yeah,
I mean it's just.
Come on, she's a podcaster.
No,
even Amazon delivers.
And they have internet.
They get Amazon too, and you have internet.
We do have internet. We've got
Cell
electricity
phones.
and indoor plumbing
So
and everything.
in your high school, did most of the class, your graduating class, did they go to Iowa or Iowa State or Drake?
Yeah, most people went to school, a state school in Iowa. Yes. Yep, they mostly stayed in Iowa. There were 89 people in my graduating class. Not that small, actually, for a small town. I didn't grow up in the town I live in now, but I do have to tell you a little funny story. In the town I live in now, at the end of the school year, every year, the high schoolers, they have a drive your tractor to school day. So
that is
there
great.
are so many farmers. So
they get tractors.
They have a tractor, so it's really actually funny and entertaining. They drive their tractor to school.
So that's why the driving age, I bet you in Iowa, is less than 16 because you have to be able to drive a tractor.
It is. It's actually 16,
you could be 12, I thought.
but you get a permit when you're like 13 or 14.
Right, to
and
drive
I think that is
to work
kind
on the
of
farm.
why it started. Yeah, because like so many people live in rural areas.
So I got a political question for you.
Oh,
Hey,
no.
I know.
Well, I try
Can't
not
put
to
her
get
on the
No,
spot.
No. The reason why I have this question is Iowa is the caucus. It's the first thing. So someone like me that's, originally from Philadelphia, but I've been down here for 18 years, we see all these politicians coming to Iowa. I'm telling you, for a year. I mean, I'm looking at them like, how important is Iowa that DeSantis, all of them, like everybody who ran, if there's 16 people, they're spending days, nights, weekends, every week for so long. Why is it so important to come to Iowa? What does Iowa really do why is it so important? Like this Iowa Fair. Have you been, I guess you.
Yes, the Iowa Fair.
Is that fun, that Iowa Fair?
It's great.
And what is it?
Good food?
They have like
the
fried
corn,
butter. They have literally a stick of butter that's deep fried.
But,
I don't know.
But what is it about explain this fair that everybody's going to and they have a good time. Where do you stay?
Well, okay. That's
We
so
stay
many
at Kelli's
questions.
house next time.
You can stay at my house. Now the caucus
Do you have
thing.
a lock on the bedroom door so I'm safe?
I do, yes. I don't get into politics a whole lot, but I came
but
from
it's important there.
It is important. It is like the first state that everyone visits. And there are statistics like with like who has won been elected president without Iowa. I don't know the states, or the stats, but I did caucus once with my mom. So
what is that? Explain what a caucus is.
Everybody, you get in a room together basically, and you've got I'm for this guy, and there's
how many people in a room?
Oh, I think there were like when I did it, 300 maybe, something like that.
Okay,
and then you group off into groups just to try. I think it's like the point is to like.
And you come up with one guy?
Yeah, one guy. And then there's a spokesperson for every candidate, and they get up and give a speech.
And then all these different caucuses put their thing in, and then whoever has the most caucuses wins Iowa. Yes,
but it's just people grouping off into sections together. It's really interesting. It's like, it feels like the high school president class president thing.
So you're next door neighbor. You're talking politics. So you're saying, hey, DeSantis has been to every single county here. He showed up more than this guy. This guy doesn't even show up. And I'm voting. And you guys talk about your.
We talk exactly about that. Yes, like.
And that means something.
He didn't even come. Like, so it was when
he didn't have a corn dog like everybody else. They all make meat that's crap.
I want to go for the food. I want to try the fare.
And I'll get to that. But I grew up on an airport, a very small airport in rural Iowa.
Was your dad a pilot?
Yeah, and my dad and my brother and my mom. I'm the only person in my family who wasn't a pilot.
I just did that with
my
kids.
Hell no, I would never skydive.
I'll show you the video later.
You have
to do it.
They say, why would you jump out of a perfectly functional airplane?
Because you want to die.
No, but so I got to meet, because Iowa is one of the first states that people come to. I got to meet so many politicians. Like, I have pictures of Ronald Reagan holding me when I was a baby.
Wow.
And
that's unbelievable. That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was cool growing up in an airport.
Iowa is a mainly Republican state?
I think it's mainly Republican, but don't quote me.
No, only because of farmers. I guess whoever takes care of the farmers probably gets most of the votes.
It's pretty conservative. There are a lot of Trump supporters where I live. I will say that. You see pro-Trump signs all the time and stuff.
So when they have this fair,
okay, the Iowa State Fair, yes.
So they do something down here. What's that thing on Atlantic Avenue where they have all the tables up and down the street, where every restaurant has a little section, and you sample the food from
like
every
a food fest kind of thing or something.
Is that what the Iowa Fair is like?
No,
the people,
it's like an amusement park that travels.
It is not like that at all.
Ferris wheels and stuff.
First of all, it's like a carnival, but it's like
state fair
times 100.
Right.
Every night there's a concert, so really good music. So much food, and there's of course like all the agriculture part. There's showing animals, the highest quality.
A lot of vegans show up?
No vegans, I would say no vegans. Like there's a rodeo, tractor pull, but it's huge. It's huge.
Like this sack hop or whatever it is, where you're in a sack.
So a question for you. Like here, when we see automobiles here.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know anything about cars, you know certain cars like Mercedes is better than a Chevrolet.
Right.
A Bentley is better than a Mercedes, and you can go on the pecking order of cars.
Yeah.
In the tractor world, what's like John Deere? Like if you're driving a John Deere, what's that like?
Oh, John Deere would be like the Tesla of it's like really John Deere is the best.
Is it? I didn't know.
And then
give me some other choices.
International Harvester. There's Case IH. I don't know all of them. I know there's like green, red. I know some of the.
So if I'm buying a tractor, do I want speed? Does it turn fast? I don't know anything about tractors.
No. Yeah.
I want to know though. So you live in this small town. Let's ask her some questions that she's really familiar with. You blow through the 4 eligible guys pretty quickly. In Boca
You're not wrong.
In Boca Raton, there's 100,000 people. I mean, I won't see the same people from. So what do you do after you go through the 6 or 10 guys? You don't like this guy?
6 or 10. But wait, at what age in Iowa? When you meet the guys and everything, what is like the average when people get married in Iowa? Is it in your is it late teens, early 20s? Is it like mid 30s?
Well, I think it's changing now. everywhere, not just Iowa, but people are getting married so much later. So I would say now it's like in their early to mid 30s. When I was younger, people would get married right out of college, like 22, 23. But now it's like people just, I think kids these days are not as into that idea.
Marry the people in their hometown, like if there's...
Yeah, in the town that I live in, yes, they
and
do.
Divorce must be uncomfortable. So
you mean like the little...
that person
so little Johnny
yes.
in first grade married Sarah from first grade?
Totally. You see a lot of that in the town that I live in now. But I mean, that's just like, it's not all rural, you know. There's like
so they've been together
cities.
for like their whole...
Yes.
Like they could have been boy and girlfriend from like 8th grade on.
Yeah, and in the town that I live in now, I shouldn't say this, but there's a lot of juicy like gossip. Like a lot of people are having affairs.
So why can't there be a TV show? You know how there's Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Why can't there be like
Great idea.
a Real Housewives of Iowa?
Yeah.
Because do you know how many people would like to see
like real life?
Yeah,
like,
tell me what are some of the stuff going on?
Is there a 3-date rule like there is in Florida here?
I don't believe in the 3-date rule, first of all. Now, you know, my boss, Brian Howie, has the Great Love Debate podcast. We have talked about this because I used to believe in at least a 3 to 5 date rule. He was like, absolutely not. It's about the connection. It's about how much fun you're having, things like that. He's a big believer in first date sex, Brian.
He's what?
A big believer in first date sex.
I don't think I've ever had first date sex in my life.
Why?
And I've been single half of my adult life.
It just depends on everybody.
I just don't give it away that easily, Govy.
No, I know. Now, that's not for me, but... I don't think there's like a 3-date rule.
So in Iowa, everybody kind of knows everybody. So there must be a lot of like gossip and.
There is a lot of gossip. Yeah. So everybody knows everyone. Everyone, you know, gossip spreads fast in a small town. So I've heard lots of things about the little town I live in, like this person and this person, you know, had an affair and then they got back together with their ex and blah blah blah, and they all worked it out.
And if they had an affair, they had an affair with someone they knew.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah,
wow.
It happens.
So how far are the houses apart? Do you live like here in Florida, you could be right next to someone.
Yeah, we don't do that in Iowa. Like, I go to Denver a lot. The houses are right next to each other. Right. Yeah, nobody has a yard. In Iowa, we all have, like, I would say a quarter to half an acre for the land is pretty normal.
Do you have that much yourself?
Well, no, I used to live in a house, but I sold it 2 years ago. Now I rent because I'm gone all the time.
Does everybody have a garden? Does everybody have a garden?
Not everybody, but I would say like 35% of people.
I want to go back to this 3-date rule. I mean, my question is geographically, because you're all over the country, do you think there's different rules in a rural town of Iowa than there are, you know, in Boca, where you walk into a bar and it's like there's 12 people sitting there and, you know, it's like a lineup.
Yeah.
Or is it all the same?
I think it's pretty much the same.
Like, I listened to this gal's podcast that does it here. It's called 50 AF.
Yeah, 50s AF. Yeah, Nicole Chanis.
She had a great gig on her podcast where she's dating, or somebody's dating, a new guy. And, you know, now they're sleeping over their house on the weekends.
Yes.
And she's saying it's a lot of work to bring the hair dryer, the cosmetics, the moisturizer, and the guy should really pay for a duplicate set of that stuff, so she doesn't have to schlep it, Jewish word, from one place to the other. And you know,
how many dates is this? Like the
like it was second month. They're dating 2 months. And she's spending for one reason or another.
So that's no big deal. I agree with that. But after like a couple days, it's like,
oh yeah, that's a little too fast. But yeah, I agree, and I've done that.
Same kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've done that. But I will say, like, every time I do that and I start leaving things over at the person's house, I think I jinx it or something. We always end up breaking up. It's happened like 3 times.
That's like 2 and a Half Men. Charlie Sheen. Once he sees someone put their clothes in the thing, he panics. But
well, what happens? I'll tell you firsthand experience. You go in the closet after the weekend and you say, there's 3 articles of clothing here. Then the next weekend, there's 5 and 2 pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Then the next weekend, there's 7 and 4 pair.
Oh, your places
like,
are so big.
You know, now they're moving in. I mean, you know, I didn't expect this.
But let me ask you, as a girl that's traveling, going to all your different cities.
Yes.
If you were, say, traveling in Cleveland and you met a guy at a bar. And like I said, there is no 3-date rule or anything like that. And you know that you might not see the person again because maybe he's from Detroit and you're both staying at the Ritz-Carlton, you're doing your work or whatever. But when you're in Iowa, you got to be, the 3-date rule is much more important because, like, hey, it's a small community.
Yes.
Everybody knows everybody. You got to,
Yeah, they might have called the other guy that she dated and said, hey, you know, I'm going to go out with Kelli next week.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
you could be free, and if you know, like, hey, I'm going to Scottsdale for 2-3 days, you could have a good time.
Yeah. So there aren't very many eligible people where I live. But I don't also date very many people from Iowa in general. I usually do long distance dating because I have.
Oh, so you come with suitcases.
Yeah, I've run out of all the
There's no two shoes,
eligible.
Cutty.
Yeah, I've run out of the eligible bachelors in Iowa. So now I'm on Bumble and I'm on travel mode. So I always have it set to the city.
So Bumble
I'm traveling
is your
dating app. Yep.
Is there what? So why Bumble? What are some of the other ones that you didn't like?
Well, I didn't like Tinder because it was too hookup oriented. It was like people, like guys, like ooh,
Sex immediately.
Yeah, that's not me. Bumble, I think it's just because I've done it before that I'm doing it now. I should try Hinge. I don't like
What's
Bumble.
Hinge?
It's like the latest and greatest. It's supposed to be for people who want a
And you
relationship.
have to pay for all these?
No, I do it for free. I do the free version. The paid version is much better, though, because you can see who likes you. But I don't like Bumble because the woman has to make the first move on Bumble. I don't want to make the first move. I don't like making the first
How
move.
big are these dating apps? Is it so acceptable today that that's just now
Yes.
easier than people saying, hey, I want to introduce you?
Well,
Like,
Govy, you go in these bars now, there's no girls in the bars because they go on Bumble or they go on Hinge. They don't need to go to a bar to meet a guy anymore.
Well, plus,
10 years, 20 years ago when we were doing it, you know, that's
where you met. So you're saying people aren't going to
I don't think
meet
the
someone.
single
They're not.
girls are
It's not
bars.
old. That's old school now. Going to, like, say, a restaurant. Or
I wish we could. It just doesn't work out that way.
Kelli,
People don't.
would you go to a bar by yourself to sit down?
Yeah.
And, so
I do.
Very few girls
Well,
Govy
when I'm traveling, I do. I'm not afraid to go to
she
dinner
has
by
to eat.
myself.
She has to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like last night, I went to the Funky Biscuit and listened to a band by myself.
Did
just
anybody make a move on you?
No, but then I went to the Irish bar afterwards,
twice.
and they
Two
did.
plates.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, it's on my walk home,
Okay.
and I like to be around people. I like to talk to people. I
Yeah.
love meeting new people, not to hook up, not
And
to
how'd
date.
the Irish
just
bar go?
It was great. It was very
Meet
lively.
anybody there?
I did meet someone there,
Oh
but
my God.
I mean, he just bought me a drink. It was no big deal, but no
Now,
date
is
or
there
anything.
an expectation that the guy should buy you that drink?
No, I don't think so. But like, if he offers, why would I say no if I was
Right, I
willing
agree.
to order one
That's
anyway?
a turn off to a guy if you say no.
Right.
That's
But
the
how
conversation ends right there.
But Govy,
Exactly.
how about if the guy is ugly or he's old and you don't want to start a conversation with him? And
Hey, he
and
can just be
offer-
interesting. She could have no desire at all to be. She just finds a person interesting, wants to talk, and pass time. She's here. Why not just talk to someone? I mean, I can
yeah.
talk to
Boy, I'm
carpet.
so shallow.
I can talk to
I don't
carpet.
wanna, you know, I
mean,
just
if you're
they're
interesting
not,
and you want to, and you're
Yeah.
educating me on something, I wouldn't
Yep.
care. I would put that past and say, okay,
Right.
I have nothing
So
better to
did you
do.
exchange numbers?
We did exchange
Oh,
numbers.
Govy, we're getting good stuff
Only
here.
because, he was like, well, how long are you in town? We should go to dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't like,
How old was this guy?
he was a little younger than me. He was,
What do they call that? A cougar? You're a cougar.
I'm not a cougar.
How was he over 18? I hope.
Yes, I think he was 38. So, yeah.
Wow.
Wait a second. First of all, she met him at. Let's see where she put herself in place. She put herself at the Irish pub.
Yeah.
After the Funky Biscuit. Now, for everybody out there that wants to know, the Irish pub in Boca Raton is a FAU bar, basically.
What does that mean?
College.
There's a college. We have a college here.
Oh, it's like a college bar?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm way
it's-
too old to go
Yeah,
there.
it's an Irish.
No.
And by the way, the guy wasn't 38. He was. I would go down at least 5-6 years.
Well, he was divorced with 2 kids, so
Young
I don't
30s,
know.
maybe.
Maybe.
But it
So,
is the
Was he a
college.
good-looking guy?
he was decent looking.
Was
yeah.
he in good shape?
Yep.
So you did an
You
assessment.
guys could be like the Brady Bunch.
I'm not. Oh God, no. I'm not looking for that. I'm not
let's
looking
follow.
for that.
Are you going out on a second date?
I have no idea.
If he calls,
I'm probably not.
Would you text him and say, "Hey, I enjoyed. Thank you for the drink last night."
No.
I like that. When a girl
how many
texts
dates?
me and says, "Hey, nice meeting you. Thanks for the drink."
I don't like to be the one to do it first, but if the man initiates it, I'll respond. So
How long do you have to go out with someone for you to say, "I want you to come see Iowa"?
Oh, I don't think it would be a length of time. It would be like the connection. Like if we are really vibing. But I mean,
Cutty, what would get you to Iowa? How long?
I don't know.
would you even want to come to Iowa?
Oh,
it is beautiful.
I like to see things.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Obviously, it would be.
But that's
interesting.
like Iowa. For you to get to Iowa, that's a 2-planer.
Yeah, that's a
It
big
is.
deal.
It
Unless
is.
I use
Yes.
your jet, Govy. I mean,
Well,
you lend it to me.
There's a direct flight. You have a jet?
No,
Yeah.
no.
There's a direct flight from Cedar Rapids.
He had a jet.
Yeah.
He used to eat peanut butter and jelly on his jet. That was his food of choice. Everybody else had stone
for
crabs.
7 years.
You did? Really?
Yeah, for 7 years.
Oh, wow. What kind? Was it
Gulfstream.
a Gulfstream? Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
the G4SP, and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We had it for 7 years, and my kids and myself, we went all over the place, and
Iowa would have been easy.
Super easy.
Yeah,
you could have flown
but my
into our
son-
airport.
Yeah, but my
2.5
son,
hours. He's in Iowa.
but my son at the time, he's 38 now. He went to college in Providence, Rhode Island, Brown.
Oh, nice.
And when he first went there, I was going up every Wednesday night to have dinner with him because obviously I missed my son.
Yeah.
And I was worried about him because he was, it was a new environment for him. He was like the type of kid that spent a lot of time at home. And, it was like he's out in the real world now. So
He's now in Brazil.
He
He's
lives
a
in
father.
Brazil.
He lives in Brazil.
Wow.
Right, he lives
Oh, my
in St. Paul,
goodness.
Brazil. Actually, he's coming to Philly next week. But yeah, so look, we ran it we ran it hard. It was fun.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
But see, with that, anything. If I had my own jet and you met someone, could you imagine meeting someone and he said Iowa and that person said, I can go there tomorrow. No big deal. I'll come for the night.
Perfect. I like a little distance in a relationship
No,
too.
that's good.
I don't always want to see it every single day.
What do you think?
But now there's FaceTime. 10 years ago,
That's true.
20 years ago, there was no. But let me ask you a question. When you call someone now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a guy that you're seeing, and do you FaceTime or do you just regularly call?
I have a love-hate with this because a couple
Great
months
question,
ago,
Govy. I
I
love
hate
this
FaceTiming
question.
a lot of times.
I was dating someone from Texas a while back, and I work from home, so I don't always get all done up every day.
Yeah.
And
Sweatpants.
he would be like, let's FaceTime. And I'd be like, I look terrible. But at the same time, like, yes, I want to see him, but I'd like to look a little nicer.
right.
So it is nice that if you're long distance, you can just see, talk, whatever. It is nice. I do like that.
I look at the different generations. I have a friend that FaceTimes me. He's pretty big. He's an athlete, basketball player
Okay.
in the NBA.
Yep.
And he FaceTimes all the time.
Yep.
And his life is he lives an NBA life where midnight is absolutely like 8 o'clock at night for the normal person.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
it's like in his
Yes.
wheelhouse.
Yep.
And he FaceTimes and I don't answer.
Yeah.
And then he FaceTimes again, I don't answer. And
Are you
then
worried about your makeup or hair? Why don't you answer?
and the third time he calls. Because sometimes I'm in bed with my wife, and it's like,
So?
I don't, my wife wouldn't want to, if I sat there and took a FaceTime,
Well, what's the
She'd be like,
difference?
no, she
Yeah.
wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't want that. Or what happens if you're in a bathroom? Have you ever answered a FaceTime
Sure.
in the bathroom?
I have.
In the bathroom?
With my kids,
With
why
like,
not?
yeah, like my son or
Okay,
something.
okay,
but not, and like my best girlfriend or something.
But how about a guy that you're dating?
Hell no, I would not answer. I would like decline.
Let's ask some sexual questions
Oh,
here, because
okay.
we're talking to somebody from Iowa.
What does that mean?
That's a different culture.
Sex
climate
is
or
totally
whatever.
different in Iowa.
No, I don't mean like
Do you think
positions or anything.
Do you think
I
it's
mean,
easier? Do you think it's like doesn't mean as much? Is it more like
I'm
just
really going to
rolling
ask
the hay?
Oh no, I think it. Well, it depends on the person. I think it means something. Yeah.
I mean, like here, it's more like structured.
Yeah.
Okay. I just could see, like, you meet a person at a bar. It could be,
No.
You don't have a lot of choices.
You don't have a lot of choices, but I think people are more like usually in a relationship, probably, if they're doing that. Less hookups.
Expectations. Let's say we're dating. I don't know whether it's the 3-date rule or the 10-date rule.
Yep.
And, now we finally get to the point where it's the night we're going to have sex, or we have sex. And then I take you home. Do you expect to stay over, or you want to go home?
Okay.
And what's your expectation the next day in terms of
She's in Iowa. Where do you go? What hotel? You're in a hotel.
Well, let's say she's dating, somebody from Florida. She's coming here on a regular basis. She's dated me 5 or 7 times, and you have sex. What is the expectation to stay over? You don't have your makeup. You don't have your.
She could bring. Oh, she could bring that.
Well,
she brings an overnight bag.
No, she went to dinner. She didn't expect to sleep.
Oh no,
over.
I come prepared.
Right.
If we had been on like 5 dates and we were going to be drinking a little bit, I would bring a little bag with me that would have something to change into and like a little bit of makeup at least. So
I
like
this.
Yeah.
If it was like a hookup or something like that, I can tell you
Here's the difference. If a girl wants to hook up that night, if she wants to, she could she would be in the Hall of Fame. She could hook up probably 90% of the time.
I would say 99%.
99%.
If a girl wants to hook up, she can always hook up.
Right. Yeah. And a guy can. A guy can't. Yeah, Brad Pitt can, but other than Brad Pitt,
Govy and I are like 4 to 6%.
You can't hook up, but a girl can hook up anytime they.
It's it's hard out there for guys. Dating is hard out there for guys.
They get turned down. Guys try and get turned down.
Dating apps are hard for guys. It's just, I think it's so much easier out there for a woman to find somebody than it is
for a night. It's easier for a night for a woman, but not to go the distance.
Really?
It's easier for a guy.
I don't know. I have some guy friends who are just really having
there's
a hard time.
You're young. A lot of girls out there 55, 60 years old. Let me tell you something. And then they go out to dinner and they want to meet with 5 of their friends. Cutty, you say this the best. They would be better by themselves, because by themselves you can just see them for who they are. But when you see them with 5 of their friends, the guy is looking at all 5.
Yes, that's true.
So unless she's the cream of no one wakes up and says, today I'm going to go for number 3. Right. I want to go for the 3rd best. You want to get for just like someone that says to you, what doctor do you go to if you have a problem? Everybody always answers, I go to the best. Let me give you. I'm going to the best. No one ever says to you, by the way, I went to a back doctor. He's probably number 15th. There were 14.
Was a C student.
Yeah, I went to the 14th best I found. Everybody says I got the best.
Yes.
So when you go on a date and you see someone, no one's going to sit there and say, I'm going to take girl number 4.
That's a good point.
So let's say we have sex tonight. What is your expectation of the next week? How many phone calls? Should I call you the next day?
How about the next day?
The next day. Should I call you?
Oh, for sure. You should call me the next day.
You would be angry if you don't hear from me all day.
I don't get angry, but I would be like, I would be expecting a call.
You worried about your performance, maybe?
I wouldn't worry about my performance.
Oh my God! I'm blushing.
That's the difference. No, that's the difference between guys. That's the difference between guys. Girls don't worry about their performance.
Right, because it's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's pretty good.
Right. Bad. Right.
I'm turning bright red here. So now I call the next day, or I text, hey boy, I had a great time, whatever. But I don't say, when am I going to see you again? Are you upset about that?
Like I said, I don't get upset, but I would be, in my head, I'd be thinking, he didn't plan another date.
But why
I like
can't
a man
you
with
ask? Why can't it get to the point?
I like a man with a plan. I'm very big on gender roles, and I
So you
personally.
Well, the attorney general from Fulton County, Georgia, said man's not a plan.
A man is not a plan?
That's what she said.
Well, that's right.
And she carries 5,000
Yeah,
cash.
she carries 5,000
Yes,
cash.
a man should not be the plan,
So,
but I like a man with a
the
plan.
guy has to... Now, you don't hear from me for a week. At some point, you have to pick up the phone or text me. And
No,
not.
because if he wanted to as a man, he would.
How about if he calls you after 2 weeks?
I wouldn't be super happy about that.
A month?
Oh, chances are more slim that I would talk to him again.
Right.
I would be like, what the heck? Well, what in my head, I would be like, well, he was probably talking to other women and he was talking to someone else during that time that backfired. And now he's coming back to me as like a second choice.
Do you line dance when you go to, have you ever line danced?
I don't line dance, but I really want to learn how because I love country music and stuff. Not just because I'm from Iowa.
I would think that would be easier for girls to go out there because you line dance. It's a little...
Line dancing is huge right now. It's so popular.
I don't know if it's so huge here.
Well, I just got back from Nashville the other day, and there was a lot of line dancing.
And Texas, I bet.
Yeah. All of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and on Instagram, a lot of these African-American bars, they do a lot of line
dancing.
dancing.
Do you have a podcast in Nashville?
I was at a podcast convention in Nashville. It was a true crime convention.
Wow.
So, because that's my background is true crime podcasting. So,
boy, so
I have a true crime question for you.
Yeah, do you investigate the guy before you go out with him? That's a good question.
I do. I like
check him out.
Totally social media stalk him.
Oh,
yes,
Christ.
I do.
You Google that
I
stuff?
would fail immediately.
I do.
Well, you're married 3 times, just like everybody else. She's going to find out everything about you.
This one time, I went on a date with a man.
3 times, it's not hard.
I went on a date with a man who had a plane, and he was flying to pick me up for our date in his plane.
How did you find this guy? I'm just
on a dating app.
Okay.
Yeah, but before he picked me up, I didn't really know him that well. So my brother works for the FAA, and he also knows all about stuff. Yep. And so I just made sure he owned the plane and that he was who he said he was.
And he wasn't going to just take you to some deserted place.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure he didn't have any violations against him and that he was a good pilot.
How did that date end? I mean,
we dated for a few weeks, but I think he was a major player, so he ended up.
And you don't even get miles.
No, I didn't.
You don't get miles. So let me ask you one crime thing. The guy in California that killed his wife, that's now getting a retrial. The guy from
Scott Peterson.
Scott Peterson.
Yes. Okay.
And they have that crew, by the way, they have a good average. The ones who take up the case to try to overturn it.
Is it the Innocence Project?
The Innocence Project.
Okay, I don't know a lot of details about
this. They took him up.
One. So that if they're taking on this project, that means there's a really good chance he may be innocent if they think he's innocent.
Well,
they don't
it's
just
so many years and stuff. But I mean, like, isn't that kind of crazy? I mean,
that's
DNA,
really crazy.
DNA is
so different now.
And
right?
all these people that go to like 23 and me and all these other things, or Ancestry.com, when they want to get someone now, if they think that it's if I did something and I'm very careful on trying to cover my tracks, they could just say, you know what? I know his brother goes to this bar. They could just take my brother's DNA and know that if it's that they can connect you through a relative.
Yeah, I did a deep dive on a case in Iowa. It was a 40-year unsolved murder case.
Guy have a farm?
He had a farm. Yeah. He was my neighbor, and it ended up they tracked him through DNA genealogy. And
how many bodies did he bury in his farm?
He may have.
Did you suspect? Did you know him personally?
I didn't. Well, we bought our lawnmower from him, but I didn't know him personally. But I knew, his brother and some other people.
She passes by the house.
I did.
Right.
We were neighbors.
Is that guy that killed? Is that Iowa where the guy that killed those 4 college students?
No, that's Idaho.
Idaho.
Oh yeah, that was tragic. But
he snuck in the house. He knifed everybody. Can you imagine? That's a lot of.
He had been social media stalking some of those girls.
By the way,
ahead
it's
of
not
time.
100% done deal that he's going to be found guilty.
Why?
Because he tries to find these little
But
openings.
he dropped his knife thing.
You come back with certain
DNA
things.
on it.
You come back with certain things. It's like he could. It's not 100. This guy had a criminal background like that he was studying, so he knows all the different things.
Yes.
To
But
say.
I have a question that you may not have the answer for, but you are an expert in this crime area. How do these people afford these attorneys that they get?
A lot of them. Okay, so like I think family.
Of family.
Family helps with funding.
They
A
mortgage
lot of them,
their house or something.
Yeah, all their possessions get liquidated. They sometimes they'll take it on pro bono though too.
Can I tell you have a family person that goes up to you and says, by the way, you got to get me off. It's going to cost you $50,000. And your best case scenario is the guy gets off, he gets his freedom. He's not paying you back.
Right.
He's not paying you back. And if he loses, then he goes to jail and you lose your $50,000.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Lawyers are very expensive, but a lot of like, if it's
families break up over money.
They do.
I mean, if you ask Jewish people why families don't talk, it's over money.
Yep.
So I mean,
yeah. But if it's a high profile case, a lawyer would kind of jump at the chance to defend that person. They'd be in the news. They'd get a lot of publicity, and if they get them off, that's like a big deal for them. So a lot of lawyers do it that way too.
Wow, Govy. So it's called the Cutty, Govy, and Kelli show now. I mean, when
this
can we
is great.
do another one? This has been. And by the way, folks,
when are we going to Iowa?
We didn't have
to a football game.
Govy, how many minutes did we have to talk to Kelli before we started this show? 30 seconds. There was no questions. We just started.
We're learning right now. Like after this show, we can still talk.
This is like our first date. So if we go on a date, it'll be our second date because this is our first date, right?
You know my whole life story now.
Well, not really, but this is super, super interesting, and we'd like to do another show with you. When are you back in Florida?
I'm leaving Saturday. I'm back Wednesday, and I'll be back for a long
time.
time.
You're going all the way back to Iowa? And
no, I'm going to Scottsdale. I'm not even stopping in Iowa. I'm going to the Scottsdale studio, and then I'll be back in Boca.
So you're flying to Phoenix, and then you're going to fly right back?
Yep. I'll be in Phoenix for 4 days, and then I'll be back here.
Where do you stay in Scottsdale? Do you know? I mean, that's a fun town.
It's Old Town, so I'm staying somewhere in Old Town right by the studio.
I'll tell you how old I am. I went there when the Dick Van Dyke Show was there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you remember Dick Van Dyke?
Well, I used to watch Nick at Night.
Yeah,
so I remember that.
I got into Arizona State in Arizona. I almost went to college.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Chose Miami.
Did they have lenient pot laws back then?
No, but I went. Arizona State was like a party school in the West. In Arizona, I went to Miami, but I went out there.
Govy and I both went to University of Miami.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
I'll never forget the first year. One of my friends from Philadelphia, who went there, he ships home. Everybody has like a big suitcase, like a trunk that they put all their possessions in. He ships it home, and he had pound of pot in there that he shipped home. But the problem was the suitcase got home before he did, so his mother opened it up, and then he was out of university.
Were you in
really?
He was in big trouble.
They took him right out of school.
Whoa. Okay. Well, that's funny. You're a big pothead?
No, I don't. I really don't smoke. I don't do anything.
I used to be.
I used to, but I don't really do anything anymore. But back in my college days,
yes,
Quaaludes was.
That's some serious stuff. I've never done that, but I've heard of them.
She's too young. It didn't exist.
You missed the whole thing.
They talked about them in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
It was great. I don't understand why someone hasn't created a bootleg right now. Forget the fentanyl stuff. I mean, just take a bootleg.
Would you still take them if they were available?
100%.
I would be a complete failure in life.
I mean, I wouldn't get in my car and drive, but if you told me here's a Quaalude and you could take it at night, there'd be no alcohol. I don't drink, but there would be no one would drink alcohol. They would take a Quaalude, and
it was amazing.
And the population would go up.
I think that sounds delightful.
Real fast, I'll tell a Quaalude story. I mean. So there was they stopped making these Quaaludes, and we were addicted to them in college. And how we succeeded in life, nobody knows. But they stopped making them, Roar Pharmaceutical. And a friend of mine, I was at his house, I was in a business deal with him. On his mantle, he had a bottle of 100 Quaaludes that was unopened. And I said to him, Ron, I'll give you $100 Quaalude. There were 100. I'll give you $10,000 for that.
What?
$10,000 for that bottle. He said, no, I'm not doing it. long story short, certain things happened to him in his life, and he killed himself.
Oh, that's sad.
And I'm at the funeral. He had no wife, no kids. And I'm at the Shiva, the Jewish word, where you go after the. And I'm at the house in the family room.
Don't say in the medicine cabinet. There's
on the mantle, right in front of me. I'm sitting on the sofa. Is this bottle of 100 Quaaludes, and I'm saying to myself, hey, you have something on your shoulder.
Did you take it?
And I'm saying, am I that big of a scumbag? The guy, when he was alive, wouldn't sell it to me. They're going to clean this house out. And these Quaaludes are going in the trash.
I would have done
told me he wanted to give this to me.
He would have wanted you to have it.
And I said, do I take it or do I walk out of there?
Did you ask for it? I would ask for it.
I walked out of there. I didn't take it.
Oh, what a good person.
I couldn't do it.
They went in the trash. You could have had so much enjoyment out of those.
I couldn't do it. And to this day, it's probably 25 years later.
Every time you would have taken one, you could have thought about the guy. And
this one's for you.
On this shoulder,
you could say, this is
Cutty,
for you.
This is how you're going to remember the guy. I had the other person on my, you're a scumbag.
And 15 minutes into taking the pill, you know what you would say? You would tell the guy, I love you. I love you,
man.
Yes. I used to wake up the next day after Quaaludes and look at my phone to see who I called. It's like...
no, we had that. I just couldn't remember where I parked the car. I had no idea where the car was. We had to find it.
Well, anyway, Kelli, Brink, thank you. We're going to work with you on our your social media when everybody sees us.
I'm waiting for your second date now. I got to see one of those.
We got to set another show up.
All
it's
right.
perfect.
When you come back.
Yep. I think that sounds great. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great.
All right. We'll see you.